Let's see. Pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the Bastrop City Council will hold a regular meeting on February 23rd, 2016 in the City Council Chamber at 1311 Chestnut Street, Bastrop, Texas, to consider the following matters. Call to order. I call us to order. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa is under the weather. We don't know whether to expect him or not. We hope he's able to come, but no, he needs to take care of himself. We have a quorum. We are called to order. We will now move into an executive session, closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, et cetera, et sequitur, whatever, to discuss the following: Section 551.071(1)A and Section 551.071(2), consultation with an attorney concerning potential pending, threatened, and/or contemplated litigation claims and our settlement mediation, including but not limited to water supply, code enforcement litigation, appeal denials, requests for variances from zoning code and zoning board of adjustment action orders, litigation related to subdivision development, and matters upon which the attorney has a duty to responsibility to advise us. We have, I think we've made this clear, we have a couple of lawsuits that are pending. We have an attorney from Dallas who is advising us and needs our counsel tonight. So we called this meeting at 5:30 in order to save money by getting him back on an airplane back to Dallas, and so that we could start our regular meeting at 6:30, hopefully without any more disruption than we have to. So we're clearly meeting about some lawsuits, and we will be back at 6:30. We are in executive session. City Council will reconvene our regular session. I want to say that, as I said to those who were here at 5:30, we had a conversation with a Dallas attorney that's helping us on a couple of lawsuits. Mike, there's no action we need to take from that. You have to say it over. I can't remember that. Say it over the mic, will you?
Sorry. I think the council received a very detailed briefing on both the lawsuits, and you understand clearly where we're at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. We now get back into our regular session, and I will invite you to stand and say the pledges to the flags with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please be seated. I'll ask Councilmember Gilliland, I will stand back up to say the invocation.
This will be very brief. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Bastrop. May we do so with open hearts. May our decisions be fair and impartial. May we do the right things for the right reasons at all times. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have an update on Bastrop Economic Development Corporation from Executive Director Sean Kirkpatrick. Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Mayor, Council, thank y'all for having me this evening, citizens of Bastrop. We had our regularly scheduled meeting last night here in the council chambers. It was a relatively short meeting. We were in and out in just a little over an hour, which I think is record time in my tenure. Executive session took us to a little over 2 hours, but regular session was a little over an hour. So that is still record time, no matter how you measure it. We did have the public hearing. We are in the 60-day window, the statutory window for the public notice for the YMCA funding. The public hearing was last night. The 60-day window closes on March 28th. We also had the public hearing for the 903 Main Street project for Zentech Properties, Maxine's Cafe. That 60-day window for that public hearing notice also closes on March 28th. We had a few comments related to that provide good direction to the board and us as we move forward. We also appointed the first 3 members of a 5-member ad hoc committee to look at the bylaws of the BEDC. From the board, Christy Koch and Steve Mills were appointed, as well as myself. And then we will have, we'll be meeting in here in probably the next couple of weeks to consider community members and soliciting community members to fill the other 2 seats on that committee. Going back to the board with a recommendation and an appointment at the March meeting, and then the real work will begin after the March appointments for taking a look at a comprehensive review of the BEDC bylaws. We had a housekeeping matter related to personnel. We received my reports as well as the reports from the other City of Bastrop departments that report the ongoings. Other than that, it was a pretty short and successful meeting. So I'm here to answer any questions that y'all may have. Yes, ma'am.
Can you give me an update, please, on the job fair?
The Youth Career Day, we do have a date set. I believe I reported last time we were still up in the air because of the TEA testing for the STAR test. That's going to be May 18th. I believe y'all should have gotten an invitation for a planning meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks, in which we'll roll out all of that program and start putting the nuts and bolts and pieces together for that. Nothing yet. We're in good shape at the moment. We've started student registrations for attending that. It's going to be voluntary this year on the students' parts. The high school has the form, and the students are filling that out, and we're getting submissions of those. We have good industry participation at this point. Obviously, TWC is helping with that and has started making their contacts and rounds, and it looks like we're going to have good industry participation as well. So.
Any progress on the adult job fair?
That is scheduled for the fall. October 1st is the date at the convention center. Probably here within the next couple of months, we'll start looking at that and putting together what that's going to look like. When we do that, we'll have a discussion about, do we want to go biannually with that and have it twice a year? But right now it's scheduled for October 1st in the fall to kind of coincide with the students going back to school as well as the holiday season and holiday hiring. It just fits well with that timing schedule. So that's where we're at on both of those. Thank you for that. And Councilmember Gilliland and Councilmember McAnally have been instrumental in both those programs, and we're very thankful for everything that y'all done for the adults and the students in the youth and job fair.
Thank you for taking on the hard work this year. We appreciate that.
I would like to say that I do that, but Jean Riemann-Snyder and Angela Ryan in my office bear the brunt of the nuts and bolts and the labor on that. Angela handles special projects for us, and so that's obviously a special program. And then Jean does education and workforce development, and so they're working real closely together with our other partners at the Chamber of Commerce and the school district and helping get all of this coordinated. So thank you for asking.
Anybody
Any
else?
other questions?
Thank you,
y'all
Sean.
very much, Mayor, Council, community.
Black History Month is always in February, and we're aware that African Americans have played a central role in our nation's history, and I dare say in the history of this community. But for a long time, that history has been ignored or glossed over, making their contributions and the injustices they suffered ignored. The origin of Black History Month can be traced to scholar Carter G. Woodson, who in 1926 conceived a yearly celebration to help rectify the omissions of African Americans from our history books. Today, the observance of Black History Month throughout the United States stands as a testament to the success of Woodson's project and an example of how we can work together to make the teaching of history more honest. Therefore, whereas the theme of Black History Month is recognized in recognition of hallowed grounds in which we pay tribute to the heroes of African American history, and we remember the courage that led activists to defy the injustices they have suffered, and how they continued to carry forward the unyielding hope that guided a movement toward justice. Facing terrible odds, they worked tirelessly to achieve full equality with other citizens. And this month we celebrate their bravery, toil, and sacrifice on the long road to justice. Therefore, the members of the Bastrop City Council encourage all residents, business owners, schools, churches, and visitors to join in with us in celebrating Black History Month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. And so therefore, I, Ken Cuslis, Mayor of the City of Bastrop, do recognize the month of February 2016 as Black History Month. And I have, City Secretary has sealed it, and I have signed it this 9th day of February 2016. I know Doc has a copy already, and I'll have this one here available for anybody who may want to take it to a meeting. We have an extra copy. Doc, I appreciate your helping coordinate that.
No problem. If I may, the school district has received some already, and they have had several Black History programs as well as several community churches. So the celebration is going on, and thank you so much for preparing that.
Do we have any citizens' comments? Bonnie Coffey.
I'm actually here to congratulate you on your BXTX station and thank Colin and Andres and particularly Mike for getting that up and running. I am going to ask you, Mayor, to make sure that everyone uses their mic. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to watch the City Council meetings on BXTX, but when you all don't speak into your mics, there's a huge silence. And I do think citizens have earned the right to hear whatever goes on in the City Council meetings. So
Thank you for
thank
you for the plug. I say please turn on your mic a lot. I'll try to watch out as well. Thank you. And anybody out there, you know, we forget to do it, give us a turn your mic on deal. Next is Pastor Roland Nava.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I'm coming before y'all again, bringing up the concerns that we had that's going approximately about a year ago. We came to you with some petitions back in March the 14th, when they were gathered. They were turned in to the city on April the 28th. And the petitions were concerning the lights in the Bastrop's North area, also the covered bus shelter, also a community center there in the area, and also about the CART's bus service extended for the weekends for the elderly that need to travel. And then on August the 8th, there was pavers that were made out there with the children of that area. And today, I just don't come by myself speaking, I come speaking with the community. Those that come from the community, can you stand? And there's a community that's here, and they're wondering about the pavers that have been there for now 6 months, and nothing has been done yet. And so we're coming with concerns to the community, not just me trying to be a bad person, but you know, there's things that need to be done, and I'm going to continue to come and bring it to the attention of the city council and to the city. And so I know we can't get no reply back because it's a citizen's comment, but also I want to ask the city manager about what was the outcome about the structures that were being made. And we had came twice, and it's been the same thing, wondering about the structure that had to be made out of metal and this and that and what have you. And I haven't had no email or nobody corresponds back with me about anything that's going on, but the citizens want to know what is occurring, and so that's our purpose being here today.
Mike, can you respond? Maybe in the next just what's going on, or?
The council approved that the bus shelter be constructed out of metal rather than wood. So we rechanged the design. The design was accepted by the council. We have retained the services of a metal manufacturer. It's being manufactured as we speak. And I will be just bringing the last item that needs to be done to finish it is for the council to pick out the color scheme, and I'll be presenting that to the council at the next council meeting.
So what's
No.
a timeframe that we could be looking for something to be done with those pavers that have been out there for the past 6 months?
I would hope after the council chooses the color, it'll take probably 30 to 45 days to finish up the metal manufacturing and painting it. And then probably, once we get it delivered, the city has committed that we will install the first one. So I would hope within 30 days we would have it installed.
And just to bring this to the attention, we would like to be on, when can we set up to be on the agenda? Because there are some citizens that want to come and ask questions and get an answer back. So how can the BNA CCC, which is the Bastrop's North Area Community Concern Committee, be on the agenda to come before the city, and some of the residents could bring some of their concerns to y'all?
Comment on the process of anybody that wants to come make a presentation to us needs to call me at 512-940-7897. I know I'm on your speed dial, so give me a call. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Mayor, I would also like to point out that you did rejuvenate the form-based task force code to look at the area north of town. We did have a meeting in January. I believe there will be a meeting coming up in March, and it might be helpful for them to come to that meeting and address the committee.
And I guess I can say this, I know you're aware of that committee.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about that. Now, I don't.
I think we're overstepping
Are we
citizen
overstepping?
comments here.
Yeah, I think we've stated what our rules are, and I think, and Mike has repeated a report that he's made several times, so I think that's good. Anything else?
No, just that, and just to come up and ask them about the community center and just about the lights and the bus shelter. That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Can I ask if Mike would put those items on his next city manager's report and give us an update?
Thank you.
Lee Harrell.
Okay, Mayor,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I think some citizens from the group were asking you to repeat that phone number. I think I heard someone out there.
It's on the city website. It's not on any billboards anywhere, but it's 512-940-7897. Lee Harrell.
Hello. My name is Lee Harrell. I'm here tonight representing the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce. 2 weeks ago, we were here, or I was here, and we had asked to an opportunity to present some work that we had done regarding a long-term solution for Bastrop's destination marketing plan. At that time, we were told that the city manager was going to need another 2 to 3 weeks to complete his work on the BMC contract. At the March 8th meeting, we'll be beyond that timeline that he suggested. So we would like to request again to be placed on the March 8th agenda to present the work that we've done. Again, I want to stress a couple of things about what it is that we have been working on. What you're not going to get from the chamber is a solution. We don't know the answer, and we're not going to try to tell you what to do. What we are going to do is share with you, based on conversations that we've had visiting with people that are in this profession all across the state, what we believe is a solution to get to a solution to get to where we need to be, a process that will be expeditious and include ample public involvement. Again, we just request that we be permitted to be on the agenda to present our work for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Do we have anything to report on the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee from Kay or Doc?
I think Mike
Mike.
has, what?
Or Mike?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Okay. The consulting team has completed edits of chapters 1 through 4 of the Bastrop Comprehensive Plan, is going to provide their edits to staff for distribution to the steering committee, work on chapter 5 entitled Land Use and Urban Design, and chapter 6 entitled Transportation has commenced. A new online public comment period via My Sidewalk will be initiated in the near future to receive, take, and consider input on land use, urban design, and transportation components from the stakeholders. The next steering committee meeting will be scheduled for early March, during which the steering committee will review plan recommendations related to public facilities, housing, and neighborhoods.
Okay. Thank you. I've decided as far as possible to start listing, to give you some idea, council members and citizens, of the targets that Mike and I have set for future meetings, and we've listed some of those under March 8 and March 22nd. We'll continue to try to do that. I know all y'all have come here for particular reasons. I doubt it's just better than television at home. You've got items on the agenda you want to hear about, but there's one that we need to deal with for a few minutes, and I just want to explain to you that we need to go into an executive session on a very important matter. And I don't think it'll be real long, but I appreciate your patience. We just need to do this before we can proceed with this meeting. City Council was informed today that Mike has decided that his 10th anniversary at Bastrop, May 12, 2016, will be the end of his work here as city manager. He's offered to stay on to make this a full 90 days. We've talked about that many times about how important that is. I know we're all shocked right now, and we're very grateful for those extra days, because we're going to need that and more to get through a transition period after 10 years of great stability. So I'm going to call us back into executive session for a few minutes, and I wouldn't do this if it weren't for something this important, but I don't think this council's going to be in a frame of mind to move ahead without our talking about this a little while. So the Bastrop City Council will meet in closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551 et sec, to discuss the following matter, Section 5510-75, personnel matters, the city manager's contract, and his work here among us. So we're in executive session. City Council will return to our regular session. I appreciate very much your patience on a very important issue for us, as I'm sure you understand. The council is refusing to accept Mike's resignation tonight. He has promised us that he will rethink it and provide at least more conversation in 2 weeks. Mike, is that we'll agree to? Is that okay, council? All right. All right, thank you for that affirmation. I think we were at City Manager's informational report, but before we go any farther, in the course of Council Member Gilliland pointed out a mistake on the agenda, and I'm not sure I see it. Kelly, can you tell me D4 and D5? Okay, it is not on the agenda, but we made a mistake, and Ann, I'll ask you to correct it, that would you bring that to me again?
Sure. If it's on the agenda.
Is it on 4 or 5? No, I just want to correct it before we get started. Under 3 on item D5 on the cover sheet for item D5, it says under number 3, nature of request is, this is to set a permanent start time, and that was something that carried over from D4, I think, Ann, by mistake. So that needs to be scratched off there because it has nothing to do with that. That's the previous item. Have you caught up with me? Okay, on page 210, if anybody's following, under item number 3, there's the nature of the request. That's something that carried over from the previous item, and it just got somehow copied in there when you did it. And so I want to make everybody aware that that line on page 210 should be scratched off. Thank you for pointing that out, Council Member. Okay, Mike, your city manager's informational report.
Okay, just a minute here.
Ken, while you have that agenda item in front of you, I noticed that it is to vote on 2 items that are on Mike's city manager's report.
Mike had agreed he wanted those on the manager's report. I just wanted to refer to the fact that if I didn't want anybody to overlook, let me put it this way, we're posted on city manager reports to take action, but I didn't want to surprise anybody that Mike wants action and he just wanted to do it through his city manager's report. So I wanted to alert the public to the fact that we would be dealing with that tonight at Mike's request.
Okay. I just wondered why it was on there like that.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Okay, I'm just going to cover just a few brief items because I know we've spent a lot of time here. I'd just like to advise the council, starting today, we have put into operation the new water filtration project. And I think it's important for the citizens of Bastrop to know that the membrane filtration system that we have put in, that was 2 years in the making, is a state-of-the-art filtration for water. And it will treat any type of contaminant in our water before it gets into our public water service. And I would encourage the council to go down there and look at those filtrations because it's very impressive, and I want to thank Mr. Trey Job for overseeing that job and getting it completed because it's a major, major improvement to our water system. Item J, I'm not going to request action tonight, but I do want to stress that as you will see through your audit tonight, the Water and Wastewater Fund ended up in a very, very favorable position at the end of fiscal year 15. One of our biggest needs to enhance our water system and to significantly increase our fire protection is putting an elevated water storage tank on the west side of the city. You know that we were able to purchase a tract of land through the state for a very minimal sum, and that site is the exact elevation of our Mayfest Park, and we are underway doing a rate study, but in the interim, I will be bringing back at the next council meeting a proposal from the engineer because of the length of time of this massive project that I'd like to get the design work underway, and I think we can pay for it without having to issue any debt. And then as well, when we developed the fiscal year 15 budget, we agreed that the restrooms in Fisherman's Park needed to be replaced. We wanted to wait till the audit, and I think you'll see when the auditor comes up and Ms. Waldron that our financial position is extremely sound in the general fund, and I will be bringing a budget amendment back at the next meeting to move that funds out of contingency so Mr. Job can start moving forward and replacing the restrooms in Fisherman's Park. Okay?
So what we had talked, just to make sure I'm understanding, what we had talked about was after the audit, you want to do this not tonight, but another time.
Right.
Okay.
Because I got to bring back a budget amendment for Fisherman's Park, and I have marked up the proposal that I think it needs some areas.
But it'll all be clearer after the audit, we deal with the audit.
Yes, sir.
So we can pull item D5 right now.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions?
Questions or comments?
D5.
Kelly, can we turn your mic on?
Item D5 had
Yes.
two items. You're pulling both?
Yeah, because I've got to do the budget amendment.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Don?
So are we still on city manager's report?
Yeah. If you've got something. If not, we're moving on.
No, I just want to make sure I know where we are, since I'm trying to follow the agenda.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if anybody has anything for Mike. If not, we're moving on. Okay, item A is all items under the item A of the consent agenda. We have items A1 through A9. Would like to ask if anybody wants to pull any of those off for separate discussion.
I would like to pull off A7, please.
A7. Anybody else? Okay, we will take a single vote on items A1 through A6 and A8 and A9, including A2, approval of the second reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bastrop, Texas, amending the budget for the fiscal year 2016 in accordance with existing statutory requirements, appropriating the various amounts herein, repealing all prior ordinances and actions in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I second.
Moved by Kelly, seconded by Gary. And will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gilliland?
Yes.
Councilmember Schiff?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember McAnally?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Item A7 is approval of a final plat of Pecan Park Residential Revised Section 4, being plus or minus 14.62 acres within the Moses Rousseau Survey, A56, located west of Childress Drive within the city limits of Bastrop, Texas. Ms. McCullough.
Mayor, Council, this item is Pecan Park. It's a final plat for Section 4. This property was originally zoned multifamily 2. It's right behind the existing Walmart development. They did come in and get a plan development rezoning for attached single family, and this plat represents the zoning that was approved for that property, and they are going through the final plat process. I will say today we did receive surrounding property owner notice. I'm going to go ahead and hand that out now. It's essentially from LCRA, and they were just saying that essentially understanding that the development is adjacent to the LCRA electric easement there, and that they want to make sure that the property owner is not proposing to construct any buildings or structures within the LCRA easement. With that, I'm going to hand out the notice. And again, I would say this final plat's consistent with the preliminary plat. Did you have questions?
I did have a question, because this, okay, make sure I understand what I'm asking first. They had a plan to build apartments first?
Correct. Originally, they were going to construct true multifamily apartment developments right behind Walmart there, and then they came back in June of last year now and finalized a rezoning to do this attached single-family product.
Have we already looked at the attached single-family product? 'Cause
We have.
It's not ringing a bell with me, but okay.
Let me show up, maybe this map, I'll see if I can pull this up real quick.
One of the questions that I had for you, Melissa, is that we gave Mr. Singleton a lot of grief last meeting about the 5-foot in between each one of his single-family dwellings that he's trying to construct. And I see that in this subdivision, we are just trying to approve it on the consent agenda. And I just want to make sure that the council realizes that we're doing something that we just got done saying we didn't want to do on the last development. Are we okay with that?
I think that we have to make our rules across the board in as much as possible, so I think we need to relook at that.
I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
You know, when we looked at this, this is I think, a totally different situation than you have at the Piney Creek Bend subdivision. There you have single-family standalone homes, and here you have these attached homes. And what's the setback on the non-attached side?
I think they proposed multiple product types, so I think they had different setbacks for the remaining development, but I do believe they did have some five-foot side setbacks that were proposed. Yes.
So are you're not describing single-family homes, you're describing like a duplex situation? Is that what this is?
Well, I call it attached single-family, and the biggest difference between attached single-family and duplexes are attached single-family share a property line, but they actually own the property that's underneath the majority of the structure, so they share a wall, where a duplex is 2 units on one property. So they still only have one owner, 1 unit on each side of the property, but they do share a wall. But it does kind of look like a duplex, or can look like that.
It's one building though, right?
It is.
So it's like a duplex.
Yes.
Is the rest of council okay with this setback on this particular product? I was not understanding that this was going to be a duplex, multifamily, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I think
You're all right with that?
I think the product is different enough. I mean, it's just a unique type of neighborhood that they're putting together that doesn't really pertain. There's nothing else around it that it conflicts with because there's nothing there but field. So I think it's a different situation.
Melissa, has P&Z seen this?
Oh, yes.
And they're happy with this?
This went through the official zoning process back in 2015. So I have the ordinance here. You guys voted on it on the June 23rd meeting, finalized the second reading, but it actually went to the Planning and Zoning Commission on May 28th.
Okay, that's fine then. I'm okay with it.
So this is consistent with the zoning that has been approved for this property.
Okay, in that case, then I'd like to make a motion to accept this
And I'll
as
second.
stated.
Motion by Councilmember Gilliland, seconded by Councilmember Schiff. Kay, you want to say something?
No, I'm sorry.
I think y'all are ready to vote. Ann, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Gilliland?
Yes.
Councilmember Schiff?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson? Yes. Councilmember McAnally?
Yes.
Thank you all. We have no B items. We have a C item, which I want to see if I can clarify. Councilmember Gilliland said there was some confusion about this. This is an item that consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding legal fees paid by the City of Bastrop for fiscal year 15. The party making the request is Mike Talbot. On page 45, it's got Mike's name on it, but Kelly somehow thought that it wasn't clear that this report was prepared by Mike. So can you help us?
I might have been mistaken on that. I see his name on it now. I don't know where I got that from.
And
Okay,
I was
so
just following the directive that the council gave me at the last meeting that you wanted a detailed breakdown of the legal expenses, and I at least attempted to try to address that
So
issue.
that's Mike's compliance with the request from last meeting. So is there any discussion or anything on this, Gary?
Yeah, I've had a chance to kind of rethink the situation that we're in right now and what we're trying to do here. I'd like to clarify that, again, that my continued interest in the legal expenses is not a professional issue at all with our fine city attorney, but it is a financial issue that I'd like to have looked at. And so I've thought about making a motion tonight, which I will make right now. I move that we instruct our city manager to put together a plan that will be implemented in our next fiscal year of how we're going to best spend our legal fees, how we can make our legal operations in this city as effective as they can possibly be, and that's my motion.
I'll second.
Second by Council Member Jackson. Gary, you want to speak to that any more than you've already done?
I think it's fairly clear. I think we've focused on a lot of detail. We've tried to pull out a lot of detail, and at the end of the day, what we really care about is getting the best bang for the buck, getting the best legal services that we can get for the least amount of money that the city would have to spend to make the taxpayers' money go as far as it can go. And so I challenge with this motion, I challenge our city manager to look at everything, in fact, he's got a breakdown here, everything that's on the list of the breakdown, and see, can some of that be done in-house with our administrative staff? I don't want to design it for him, but I want to challenge him to put together a program that makes sense for the city of Bastrop, that answers the challenging questions that we've had from a lot of our citizens, to do things, if they can be done better and more efficiently in the future, to do it that way. I mean, if we determine that what we're doing is as good as we can do for the amount of activities that we have, well, so be it. But he's going to look, he I think has the knowledge and the ability to put together a decent program that addresses all of the issues on his list, point by point, come back with a plan to the council, and then when we put our budget together for next year, we will know what the intention is to use how we're going to use legal services in the future. And certainly I'd encourage, as he's looking at that if he can implement things immediately, that would be wonderful too.
In other words, let the city manager put together the budget process, during the budget process, go ahead and work toward getting a plan that will best utilize the needs of the community and save us money if possible, but look at it in a fiscally responsible way. And I agree with that, and well, I don't know if there's any further discussion or not, so I won't call for the question yet.
Mike, you want to add anything?
No, I think I've got a clear direction what the council's asking for, and I can respond to that appropriately.
You want to say something? Well, Doc, before he makes... Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm absent. The Mayor Pro Tem tonight. Bonnie Coffey.
What a nice reaction. One of the things that I was looking at, and I have not looked at the new report, but when I got the report on the legal expenses at the last meeting, I kind of look at this like my own checkbook. And what I noticed was that the expenses actually went down last year. It's just the 2015 expenses were rather high, and the organizational expenses were as in 90% higher. So my immediate question is, okay, what makes up organizational expenses? That could have been employment issues, which are confidential, which we would know nothing about. Maybe you all had lots of employment issues. Open reports requests, open records requests, which you have absolutely no control over. If you take out the public works, if you take out some of the big ones, which has litigation involved, that hopefully doesn't happen very often. Hopefully you have good legal counsel that will prevent you from having a lot of lawsuits. So if you took out the 90% big one, it only went up 23%. So I wasn't overly concerned about that. I'm delighted that City Council wants to sit here and take a look specifically at how they can drop it back instead of moving immediately. I'm a big believer in fixing things before you replace them. And so I'm glad to hear that you all are going to fix it before you replace it and make up a whole new department. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Glenn Johnson. I live at 1109 Pecan. Just recently a citizen of Bastrop. fact, I was welcomed by the mayor as I hung out the American flag my first day. We've lived in the county for 6.5 years, and we've had a business on Main Street for nearly 5 years, a little bit over 4 years. So I've been watching city council for quite some time. I'm really here because Councilman Schiff wanted somebody from a big law firm to come and talk about legal fees. I am an equity partner in Kelly Hart & Hallman, which is a firm of over 150 people with offices in Fort Worth, Austin, Midland, New Orleans, and Baton Rouge. I've been licensed for 40 years, and I've observed that the expenses of an attorney is driven by two things. How many people are demanding your time to do things for them, or trying to do things against you, or by the client? And that answers Councilman Jackson's questions. Why are the expenses going up? The expenses are going up either because you are demanding more legal expenses to be handled by your city attorney. Now, I've talked with many people, and let me say, first of all, I'm not here representing my law firm or anybody else. I'm just here mainly because Councilman Schiff said, I'd like to know from a lawyer what the situation is. You should commend your city manager for being able to obtain the excellent legal services that you are being provided by J.C. Brown. She has a great reputation. I work in Austin. I commute. I enjoy living in Bastrop County and now in the city of Bastrop, but I work in Austin. And her fee on an hourly basis, I was mentioning this to my youngest associate as I left to get on in the traffic to come here, and I said, you know, there's a question about an attorney that has 28 years of experience who bills $155 an hour, and she says, that's lower than my low rate, and she's a 2-year attorney. You are getting excellent service, as Councilman Schiff just said. No one complains about what your attorney does. No one has ever claimed that she's padding her bills, or which would be unethical. So there's no question about how great she is. I did see a email that became an open record, which was published in the Bastrop Advertiser, indicating that there was a plan, which has now been changed, but to cut the budget in half and hire somebody. And an attorney here tonight told me, yeah, that people would stand in line to work for $100,000 a year. Well, you get what you pay for. And if you look at the list, just look at your city manager packet, there is required expertise on a wide range of items, all the way from contract law to local government law to utility. You have a utility. I just, out of curiosity, I went into my library before I came and I measured. The local government code is twice as large as the natural resources code, which is what I practice. I practice energy law. So there is required a large level of expertise. You have that in your city attorney.
Mr. Johnson, can I stop you for a second? Did Gary specifically ask you to?
No, I just read that in the paper.
She just said he wished the attorney would come forward. You're up. Your time's up, but I think you're helping us a lot, so I wish you'd continue. Okay. I'm going to allow you to continue because I really appreciate your expertise here. And Gary asked for something, you were giving it to us. So
well, I apologize for overstepping my bounds. I usually see a red light when I speak.
Well, I don't. My red light's absent today.
I'm sorry. No, he did not specifically. I just read it in the Bastrop Advertiser.
Please finish your thoughts.
Okay. My thought is also with your council is you have continuity. Your council can probably answer off the top of her head, give you the answer to a legal question that is confronting you. Whereas a brand new person who has not had the 16 years of experience to represent this city would have, and you would spend more time, and also your council has the expertise to know what she doesn't know, so that when you have to hire outside counsel. And I dare say if you cut the budget and had someone less experienced, you would spend a lot more money on outside counsel. Legal fees, of course I speak as a lawyer, but legal fees are not really an expense, they're a savings. Because if you get good advice, then you save the city and the taxpayers a lot of money. I pay taxes now in the city of Bastrop, and I think that my taxes would be increased if you went to the alternative that would hire in-house counsel at a lower salary. I commend the vote, because of course we need to always look at the expenses and see what the choices are. But I dare say you cannot get a better counsel than the one you already have at the fee that she already pays. And the city manager should be commended for having been able to retain her for as many years. And the recommendation that you received should probably be instituted and that hourly fee increased. I appreciate your time, and I apologize for going over.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate your sharing your professional wisdom with us and your personal wisdom in moving to Bastrop.
Okay, thank you.
And I also just thank you so much for that knowledge that you shared with us. I think it's definitely something that I'm glad the citizens got a chance to hear this evening.
I think that, okay.
I would just like to thank Mr. Johnson. Besides my own attorney, now you're my favorite. You were very eloquent. Thank you. And I'm speaking of my own attorney as a city council person.
I think y'all are ready to vote. I don't see anybody moving to the mic. Ann, will you please call the roll?
Wait, what are we voting on?
Okay, Mike, will you, can you restate the motion?
Yes, Councilmember Schiff made a motion that in the development of the fiscal year 17 budget, that the city manager analyze to ensure that we're not only efficient and effective in how we're spending our money, and he also said to challenge the city manager to see how we could streamline certain areas of our legal process in an attempt to reduce some cost. And that I'm to put that into a plan to be presented to the council, as well as anything I can see immediately being done that I should implement. So
I'd like to adapt that a little bit, please, to modify that.
Let me, hang on a second. I've called for the motion, but I'm going to withdraw that call to allow Kay to make an amendment to this motion, to propose an amendment.
I would like to propose that we do not vote on this again and bring it up again for another year, please.
Trying to think parliamentarily.
Mike, can you help us with that?
How we do that? Well, you got any ideas, Doc?
Well, I mean, since we're putting it into the budget process, that comes up sooner than a year. So we couldn't really necessarily say that we don't bring it back within that time process, but
how about the budget, the next budget process? Will that work?
I think we specified the 2017 budget.
I'm not sure, Doc, let me ask you this. I'm not sure we can bind another council from not bringing an item up and relooking at it. Am I wrong there? Or?
We're bringing a plan together for the next budget that's coming up.
I understand. Kay's point is she doesn't want to vote on this again. I mean, so I'm trying to figure out the parliamentary process that would allow that would bind the council from doing something that I think has a right to do in the future. But is there another way to express that?
I like to express this. I don't want it coming back like a bad penny like everything else we don't like the answers to. I want it done, finished tonight. So can we figure out a way, Mike? Can you figure out a way?
My plan is to put together, as we develop the fiscal year budget, which we'll be kicking off in 60 days, and be commencing workshops in late June, July, I'll report outlining what Mr. Schiff has requested in his motion.
And that will be sufficient to keep this off the agenda until the next budget or not? Because I just don't want to, that's what happens here, it comes back.
I will not bring it back until I feel that my report is complete and addresses the issues that the council has asked me, and that, I would say, would be in the July timeframe.
Thank you.
Is that okay? I mean, I want you to be satisfied in your attempt, but I'm not sure how to do it parliamentary-wise.
Okay, I think this will cover it. Yeah, okay, let's go for this.
Okay. I'll now, where there is no motion from Councilmember McAnally, so I'll ask Ann to call the roll on this motion.
Councilmember Schiff.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliland.
Yes.
Councilmember McAnally.
Yes.
Thank you all. Item D2 is consideration, discussion, and possible action on presentation and acceptance of City of Bastrop, Texas Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the year ending September 30, 2015. Ms. Waldron. Oh, I skipped a D1, I'm sorry. We were on C. I apologize to you, Ms. Ngozi. I appoint Georgina Ngozi to place 6 on the Bastrop Art and Public Places Board, and her notice of her application has been given in the past, and her application is in the book right now. And I will, we can either have a motion and we can talk about it if y'all want to, or...
I move for approval of Ms. Ngozi as the replacement on the Art and Public Places Board.
I second.
Kelly?
Just as a note of procedure, we need to have the Ethics Commission form submitted in the packet in the future with the applications. I understand that there was some mix-up on this one, but in future, could we make sure that that comes together?
So you're satisfied with the way you received it?
She did send it out to us, but it should be in the packet for everyone to see.
Yeah.
But she did send it out to us by email. So in the future, if you could please include that. And if you don't have it, please
Well,
don't
if we don't
put
have
it in
it,
the packet.
we won't bring it up.
Yeah.
If we will just withdraw it if we don't have, because that's part of the process.
Right. And I have no problems whatsoever with this nomination. I'm just saying a point of procedure on the agenda.
Okay. I think council's ready to vote.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Schiff.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliland.
Yes.
Councilmember McAnally.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all, and I see you in the house. Georgina, you want to stand up and say, we'll say thank you for agreeing to serve. I expect you to bring your expertise with children together with your artistic inclinations and your love of Bastrop to this board. I know you'll be a great addition, so thank you for offering to serve. Now, correcting my mistake, we're at item D2. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on presentation and acceptance of City of Bastrop, Texas Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the year ending September 30, 2015. Ms. Waldron.
That was a surprise look. I'm Paula Lau with Patilla Brown Hill, and I'm here today to discuss with you the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for fiscal year 2015. As a part of our process, we are required to issue our independent auditor's report, which you'll find on page 1 of the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. And basically what that report says is that we have audited the accompanying financial statements in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards. And those standards require that we plan and perform the audit to attain a reasonable assurance that these financial statements are materially correct. And we have rendered an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion and known as to most individuals. And it's the highest opinion that can be rendered as well. What I want to do today is just kind of go over a few financial highlights for you. And in particular, if we can maybe turn to page 15 of this document. And on page 15, what we'll do is we'll look at the ending fund balances for some of the major governmental funds that the city has, and one being the general fund has an unassigned fund balance at September 30th, 2015 of approximately $5.4 million. They have the debt service fund with ending fund balance $804,000. And the hotel motel tax fund, approximately $2 million of ending fund balance. And you also have a combination revenue and tax series bond fund as well that has an ending fund balance of approximately $3.8 million, with their total governmental funds having an ending fund balance of $14.8 million as of that point in time. We could turn over a few more pages. We will look at the enterprise funds of the city. And at the end of the fiscal year, the water wastewater fund had an ending fund balance of approximately $5.3 million of unrestricted net position, and the Bastrop Power and Light Fund had approximately $2.7 million of unrestricted net position at the end of the fiscal year as well. On the next page, you will see the revenues and expenses for those proprietary funds that I mentioned, and you can see the change in net position for the water wastewater fund was approximately $1.4 million of an increase. And the Bastrop Power and Light Fund had an increase of almost $300,000. Within this document, there's a couple of significant changes that happened to the city during the fiscal year, and one of them being a new accounting standard that had to be implemented by the city, and it's in regards to a net pension liability that needed to be reported in the financial statements that had not been reported on the balance sheet in the past. This is information that's always been available to the users. It's been the notes to the financial statements, but it wasn't included on the balance sheet. But so you can find some information in the notes to the financial statements, in particular on page 41. There you'll see the net pension liability that had to be recorded in the balance sheet of these financial statements of approximately $2.2 million, as compared to in the past, nothing has been recorded on the balance sheet. There has been information in the notes to the financial statements, but the amount was not recorded in the balance sheet. Flipping through the pages as well, you will also find some information in regards to the health insurance plan that was available to the retirees. And you can look at page 44 of this document. At the end of fiscal year 2014, the liability that was reported in the financial statements was approximately $4.8 million. At the end of the fiscal year 2015, the ending liability is $700,000. So that's a significant difference, and that's primarily related to the plan change that the city made.
I want to stop you there. I think we all are very appreciative of the work that the city manager's done on that. And as I recall, might not have been your firm, but several years ago, it was pointed out that our worst liability was this item. And now Mike has moved and has corrected it in a way that's extraordinary difference. And I think that's what you're saying to us. I just want to refer to, we do respond to auditors.
Yes,
and
good,
Mike's
good.
done a great job of doing that.
And I will agree as well, definitely. But that's a brief overview of the financial statements, and what I wanted to do is point out to you the financial, the health of the entity by looking at net position and fund balance, what they were at this point in time of the year, and also pointing out to you a couple of changes that if you looked at last year's financial statements compared to this year's financial statements, those are some significant changes you would see there in regards to the net pension liability, as well as the other post-employee benefit liability as well. If you look farther through the back of the report, you'll find the statistical section of this particular document. I think it's some useful information in there because it provides 10 years of information, so you can do a lot of trend analysis there as well. Also, I appreciate the city staff and everyone working with us to be able to get us the information, and in order to provide the city an unmodified opinion for these set of financial statements that we are presenting to you here today. The council has a great staff that is good stewards of the funds of the city, and that's very important as well, not just to the council, but also to the citizens as well.
Council members, questions, comments? I have one. I wish Willie were here because he follows these things better. But it seems like in the past we've had some things that were sort of recommendations or whatever.
Yes.
Do we have any of those? And
We do have recommendations that we talk about with management throughout the course of the audit, but in the items that we typically bring up in a council meeting are maybe like a material weakness or significant deficiency, those would warrant, council presentation. And we're happy to say that we do not have any of those type of items to bring to your attention as well.
that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was looking for nothing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
you have no management comments?
Yes, but we do have discussion throughout the year with management of the city, just to make sure we're all on the same page with certain items, even in regards to internal controls, how to do complex accounting transactions and those type of things as well. So I think we're, always in contact with management and trying to, as a group and as a team, lead, the accounting system and processes in the right direction.
It's a glowing report, sounds to me.
Yes.
Can I say that on street? We got a
Sure.
glowing financial report from the auditors.
Sounds
And I
good.
want to commend both the auditor, Paula. They did really a thorough job. They gave me a very good overview, and also want to thank Ms. Waldron and her staff for the hard work that they put to put us in here tonight.
Anybody else? Mike, what kind of action?
You just need to acknowledge acceptance if you're satisfied with the annual financial report for the period ending September 30th, 2015, the comprehensive annual report, I should say.
I'll acknowledge it.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Is there a second? Kelly seconds. I think, you want to speak to it, Doc? I think the council's ready to vote. Mike, you want to say any more?
No, I'm just, it's always, city manager always likes to bring a clean audit with no management comments, so I'm good. I'm good.
Great, so are we. Ann, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliland?
Yes.
Councilmember McAnally?
Yes.
Councilmember Schiff?
Yes. Thank you all, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Paula.
Item D3 is public hearing. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on a variance to the subdivision ordinance, section 7.10.1 suburban subdivision standards, minimum lot size of 1 acre for an on-site sewage facility requirement. The proposed Prescott Allen subdivision is plus or minus 0.725 acres out of the Bastrop Town Tract A11 located on Main Street, Old Bastrop McDade Road, in the city of Bastrop, Texas, 1 mile extraterritorial jurisdiction. Ms. McCullum.
Mayor, Council. Essentially, this is an existing residence with an existing on-site septic system located on our ETJ. It has been there for quite some time, but it is not a legally platted lot for a subdivision, so they were originally sharing, I think, water service with the neighboring property through a water well, and since then, I think ties for the water well have broken, property ownership has changed, so they are going to their own water meter through Aqua Water Service, but with that, it needs to be a legal lot for them to go through that process and to obtain the water meter, and with that, we have legal lot subdivision status, which they did not meet, so they are coming through to platting, and it is less than 1 acre, which is usually our minimum requirement for an on-site septic sewer service. So with that, we're going through the variance process this evening. With this being an existing home and an existing structure and existing on-site sewer septic service, staff is supportive of this variance.
I move that we approve the variance.
Second.
Discussion. I think we're ready to vote. I think there's no reason to restate it because you're just moving the approval of the recommendation, correct?
And granting the
Is
variance.
that good enough for council to understand? Okay, please call the roll.
Councilmember Schiff?
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliland?
Yes.
Councilmember McMillan? Yes. Councilmember Jackson?
Item D4 is consideration, discussion, and possible action on setting a permanent start time for all meetings and workshops. This is something that Councilmember Schiff asked me to put on the agenda because he wanted to talk about it. One of the council members asked me why there isn't any backup information about it. The reason is he just asked me if he could talk about it. So I didn't have any backup stuff to put on there, so I'm asking Gary to talk about it.
Yeah, we just keep moving our meeting around. I just thought it would be better if we could get a consensus that we'd start the meetings at the same time every time and just make it easier to schedule, put your schedules together in advance, knowing when those meetings are going to be.
We have a set start time of 6:30 except for workshops at 6. Which we may have established before you got on council. So it looks like it's a variance, but 6:30 is the council time and 6 o'clock usually for workshops because they're special.
Let me ask Mike. Mike, do we have somewhere in our structure somewhere that we will meet at 6:30, and if we don't meet at 6:30, it's a change? I mean, is it the default more or less 6:30, or is that just what we traditionally do?
I think that's what the council, about a year or so ago, we discussed it, and at that point, we were meeting at 6:15, 6, and so then we decided that 6:30 would be the regular council meeting, as Ms. Gillen has said, and that workshops would be at 6 o'clock. Now, tonight was my doing, and in an effort to save money, because I wanted to make sure the attorney could get a flight home tonight, and so I did ask the mayor if we could meet at 5:30 tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we voted this in when we had a new council, Gary, was because several of the people work in a different city, and we try to be as flexible as possible to accommodate so that everyone on council can be here for the meetings when they start and through the finish, and that's why we have changed it to 6:30, and that's why it needs to stay. We're trying to make sure everyone is accommodated.
Well, I guess then the question is, why aren't the workshops at 6:30? Am I missing something here? I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, Mike, how did we get to doing that? Do you remember?
As I recall, and you'll probably go into minutes and find out differently, but my recollection was, if you came down for a workshop, you wanted to get home earlier. That's what I recall.
Yeah, but if the issue, as Kay has just said, is when we arrive, not when we leave, then maybe it makes sense to switch to 6:30, 6:30.
I have no problem with that. I mean,
At the time that we did this was the time that we were doing all of the discussions about the water wells, and the workshops were going very long. And so we decided 6 o'clock for workshops because we could never predict how long they would be. They at that time were going even longer than council meetings. And so,
hard to believe.
But that's changed now. But
we want to go back to 6:30?
Yeah, I'm okay with whatever the rest of the council wants to do. It just seemed a little odd that it seems to me that we just are jumping back and forth when.
I have no problem making everything 6:30 unless it's something special. I mean, you want to make a motion to do that? I mean, I'll meet whenever y'all want to meet.
I'm not going to make the motion. If somebody wants to make the motion, I think it's a good thing, but I don't care.
Okay.
For the benefit of our citizens, that we should set a prescribed time that we're going to meet, and then the citizens know when we post a meeting, when we're going to meet. And so I think for continuity and for our citizens to be aware, I think we should agree upon a set time. I don't think the workshops that we were encountering a year and a half ago will come to the magnitude of what we were dealing with at that time.
So
okay, then I will make a motion along the lines that the city manager suggested. I move that we set all meeting times, but that would be both workshops and normal city council meetings for 6:30 p.m. and that we be allowed to amend that as we see needed.
Is there a second to that? All right, Gary, we'll keep going with 6:30 and 6, and we'll all set our calendars.
Yeah, there might be a special case.
I understand what you're trying to do, Gary, and I commend you for trying to get us to be regulated, because we definitely need some regulation. I agree with that. I think we're okay.
Let's see, Mike? Okay, can I see your
I apologize.
agenda?
The only thing we need to go into executive session for is item number 2, section 551072, regarding the purchase or acquisition of real property.
Oh, I still don't have it. You have the previous page? I don't have my thing to read. Can anybody, Doc, somebody give me the first page of the agenda?
I think the mayor, I'll go ahead and read it. The council is going to go into executive session under section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, disposition, or value of real property. That is the only item that we'll be discussing.
For that purpose, and under the Constitution, state laws, and all that, we're in executive session.